Hey guys, I'm back with The Startup of You by Reid Hoffman and Ben Casnocha. Ben was the co-founder and chairman of LinkedIn. So obviously he's, a man of status. But this is a book that's, I think, in a lot of ways based on LinkedIn, right? Because there's chapters and sections that talk a lot about like your connections, your network, where your opportunity lies as an entrepreneur, or even for just new job opportunities, things like that. It's like those all lie within your network of connections. That's where the best opportunities are and the quickest movement. It's where you're going to find more money, happier circumstances, things that are more suitable and fitting for you. Those are all within the people that you know and the network that you're connected to. And one interesting thing about that network is that actually the most opportunity comes from people that are not like super tight connections, but maybe you knew them from high school and you're Facebook friends, but you're not necessarily hanging out and talking on the phone. And the reason that they explain in this book is that because you and your friends, that you hang with on a daily basis, or your coworkers or whatever, you have a lot of the same opportunities, and you're constantly talking, and so you've already taken advantage of the best opportunities in that social spectrum there. And so when you're looking for new jobs or opportunities to move around or get promotions or whatever, typically they come from those ones that have another set of opportunities, circumstances, and connections, right? So that's kind of an interesting point. So if you're someone that's looking for entrepreneurship opportunities or a job change or something, keep that in mind. Reach out. Maybe it's worth a post on LinkedIn or Facebook or otherwise to let those people who know you well but are not closely connected now, let them know that you're looking, and maybe that'll give you some new insights, new things. So as usual, I'll read a few blurbs that I highlighted and thought are worth talking about a little bit, even though I won't hit all of them. Honestly, I thought that the first half of the book was way more fun than the second half. But he makes great points throughout. I think that maybe I lost a little interest in the kind of second, like the last third maybe or something, because it was a lot of things that I've kind of experienced and it wasn't really new for me. But the first half of the book, or even 2/3, was quite exciting, and I enjoyed it a lot. But so I'll jump in. He says, most of the time change in the world overtakes you, Reid says. When a Hollywood executive once asked him during an on-stage interview whether he makes 5-year strategic plans or 3-year strategic plans, Reid said he does neither. 3 years is an eternity in Silicon Valley, and they can't plan that far in advance. Instead, Netflix stays nimble and iterates always in the test phase. We call this mindset permanent beta. So basically, a lot of these tech companies live in this phase of like constant trial and error and like probing and testing all these different opportunities that pop up, or even creating new opportunity, right? Because they need to adjust to the environment around them. We live in such a strange age now for business and even in life, where things are just moving at astronomical rates, right? Like if you think of how long it took to go from like a farming standard of life into the industrial, like manufacturing era, that change took years and years and years, like 100 years or whatever, for it to become very commonplace. And then with all these big factories and things coming up in America, right? A lot of people like found jobs there and growth and the economic boom and whatever. And then it went from like manufacturing slowly turned to information age, right? That happened a lot quicker because essentially once the internet was like out and available and computers were to the size where we could have personal computers, it just like exploded. But then things just went nuts, and they're changing so fast. Tech is changing so fast. Information is being exchanged so fast. Like sometimes I tell people, like, I mean, right now I'm talking to my freaking cell phone, and this message is going to be heard by more people than George Washington could communicate to in a lifetime, right? Like there's like, it's just nuts what we've got going. Like I'm a nobody. I'm this like pig farmer from southern Utah that talks to my cell phone and has like this ability to transport a message to millions and millions of people with, you know, very little effort versus what happened in the past. So things are just so wild right now and changing so quickly because of this ability to communicate and to like stand on these amazing platforms and just leap, you know, and do whatever it is that you want to do. So things are changing so quickly. In order to stay on top of it and to be relevant, you have to adapt. And there's a place in here where he says adaptability is stability. And I'll touch on some of that later, but I thought that was very interesting and so true. Assets are what you have right now. Before dreaming about the future or making plans, you need to articulate what you already have going for you, as entrepreneurs do. So no matter where you came from in life, whatever your story is, it accumulated some assets, right? Whether they're soft assets or hard assets. And you can use those to reach out to a certain population, no matter what it is, right? Whether you're this like super tech person or this like, you know, a farmer that came from, you know, whatever environment, or somebody that came from like a gang, you know, ghetto area, whatever, like you can take these assets and knowledge that you've accumulated and reach another, you know, million people that can relate to you or want to understand that, right? So you have assets. Physical assets do different things for you than soft assets, but you need to sort of take an itinerary of what you've got going for you. What do you have right now that you can offer the world? And then you kind of build around that. Like how will you form a business structure around that, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Whether you're going for entrepreneurship and a new business, or you're looking for a new job, how are you going to package that, whatever you have to offer, so that you can sell it to your employer or your potential customers in order to turn that into your new lifestyle, right? Soft assets are more difficult to tally than cash in the bank account, but assuming your basic economic needs are taken care of, soft assets are ultimately more important. So just so you know the difference of soft assets versus hard, right? So cash in a bank is a hard asset. Real estate or a house, a car, like if you own a physical business space or products to sell, those are hard assets. Soft assets are all the things that you've accumulated in life, your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, your ability to handle a situation, your insight into an industry. Those types of things are soft assets, and they're actually more valuable as far as, you know, taking a business from A to Z. So he talks about his network, which I'm not going to get into, but his network is like all these people with really valuable soft assets because they've been involved with like the startup and you know, takeoff of PayPal and LinkedIn and like Uber and like all these companies that are outrageously successful. Now the tech behind them is obviously needed, but it was the connections and the ability to take a company from an idea to, you know, what these things are today is where the billions of dollars were made, right? So think about that, right? Your experience is very, very valuable no matter what it is. Usually, however, single assets in isolation don't have much value. A competitive edge emerges when you combine different skills, experiences, and connections, right? So his team was created by a whole bunch of people who have a whole bunch of knowledge, money, expertise, connections, tech savvy, right? They have all these different skill sets, hard assets and soft assets to just, merge all that together and create these amazing companies. That's where the competitive edge is. Let's see. Kind of jumping in the middle here. That said, and contrary to what many best-selling authors and motivational gurus would have you believe, there is not a true self. Deep within that, you can uncover via introspection, and that will point you in the right direction. Yes, your aspirations shape what you do, but your aspirations are themselves shaped by your actions and experiences. You remake yourself as you grow, and as the world changes, your identity doesn't get found, it emerges. An entire, a whole section on like finding your purpose and who you are and your talent and your passion and all that, right? And he's like, despite what all these people say about like finding yourself, your who you are kind of emerges through all of your experience and the things that you've done to date, right? So it's like what you do makes who you are, and who you are will sort of push you to do certain things, and eventually you get really good and passionate about a specific thing, right? So it emerges as you work. So don't waste too much time like trying to figure yourself out before you jump in, right? Like possibly as you go, you'll find out, yes, I love this, and here's a new unique opportunity, and I'm really good at it, and I love it, and I want to do it. Or you'll find out like, I hate this, I'm not into it, I'm not like, and the reason he says that is because another competitive advantage is found in being really passionate about what you do. Because when you're really passionate about something, you dive in off the clock, right? Like you whether you're a business owner or an employee, when you're excited about a project or an idea or something, you think about it way more. You have this extra energy to like continue learning about it and to talk to people about it and seek for connections with others who might know something or want to do it with you and whatever, right? And so it's like this extra energy comes up, and that is a huge advantage because the standard of productivity across the board in the workplace is pretty sad, really. Like a lot of people, I mean, I've read statistics and I don't know how true they are, but essentially the idea is that most like employees only really put in like 4 hours out of an 8-hour day. The rest of the day is like moseying around, getting, drink at the drinking fountain, talking to your coworkers, extended lunch, like, right, leaving a little early if you can, like, just a really sad situation. So if you can be passionate about what you do, simply being passionate will keep you focused on the task at hand, and you'll be using your days and hours wisely and well, which is a huge advantage. How would other professionals you work with fill in the above sentence? And he has this sentence, and he says, if there's a gap, you either have a self-judgment problem or a marketing problem. So like as you're talking about yourself and you're selling yourself, how would they fill it in? And like, do you really know yourself? Like, get to know yourself. Self-awareness is huge. If you've watched followed my Instagram at all, or you seen some of my early YouTube videos, I think that's where you start. If you go to my website, and I have this little steps program, which I kind of stopped working on, but the first step is self-awareness. Like, and I found that out in my journey through like therapy and things, is like, if you want to solve this problem in your life, what you need to do is understand how you got there, right? Understand your life, your personality, your family of origin, your culture, your beliefs about your culture. You need to have this deep, amazing self-awareness, and then you'll be able to solve this problem, or see, because now you know like why it's happening, where it came from, how can I combat it, like all those things. All the pieces come together once you have self-awareness. So It's a huge piece for business, for life, for relationships, like peace and happiness. I think self-awareness is huge, and you start there. How you spend your free time. Oh, so review your calendar, journals, and old emails and get a sense of how you spend your last 6 Saturdays. What do you do when you have nothing urgent to do? How you spend your free time may reveal your true interests and aspirations. Compare them with what you say your aspirations are. I don't remember which book it was, but maybe it was Blink or Freakonomics or something. But basically, they touched on the topic of like people describing their ideal spouse, and then they analyzed that with the people that they were attracted to and dated or married, and they were so different. So people don't actually know like what they're attracted to. And the same can be applied to so many other areas of our lives, right? Like some people talk about like, I'm just so passionate about business, and then they never spend their free time like researching what business to do or trying to start their business or whatever. Like so get to know what your passions are, like what are you actually into. The cool thing about today is that like I don't care if you're into like I can't even think of something weird, right? But like the one that's on my mind is my friend is obsessed with fishing, right? We grew up fishing together and stuff, and he just like anytime he's got free time, he goes fly fishing. And we started a little thing together, and I moved away, and so he's doing it on his own. But I'm so excited for him to like start his podcast and his YouTube videos and all this stuff, because the thing is like everyone that loves fishing, they're active in that arena, and so they'll be attracted to him. Certain people will be really attracted to him because of the area he lives in, the type of fishing he does, the attractive character that he will portray over time, and it's just it doesn't matter what you're into, any arena. I just found out that one of my acquaintances has over 600 board games. Like if you're super into board games, like talk about them on your vlog, and just like let people see how geeked out you get on board games, and people will be attracted to you. And whether you just want to keep it as a community or make a business out of it, it's all opportunity out there waiting for you. We live in the weirdest time ever. You can just be you, which is so exciting. And I actually heard Stephen Covey predict this years ago. I heard him speak at a local college, and he talked about these eras, right? Like hunter-gatherer to farming to manufacturing to information, and where we're going. And I think we've sort of arrived to some degree, but this is what he said, is where we're going is we're going to eliminate the managers and the overseers and the 9-to-5 schedule, and people are just going to do what they're good at and make money from it. And he wasn't totally sure how that would happen, but he knew enough that that's what was coming. This was like over a decade ago. I heard him say this, and now here we are, like millionaires in their teenage years being made like on YouTube by playing video games. Like some of the biggest YouTube and social media accounts are just people playing their PlayStation with a camera on them and a camera on their screen, and they have like millions of followers, and they're making tons and tons of money. Like whoever thought that you could sit in your chair and play your video game and make more money than your parents whose house you live in? It's just like, it's the craziest thing. So you need to go for whatever it is you're into. In reality, most companies don't execute a single brilliant master plan. They go through stops and starts, a couple near-death experiences, and a great deal of adaptation. I had to giggle when I read that, because just recently we were making some progress in our business, and then we found out we got hit with this massive bill that I was not expecting, and so there goes thousands of dollars that I'm like, oh, so I don't get paid again, right? Like the near-death experiences and all this stuff, right? People sometimes have these skewed ideas of what entrepreneurship is going to be. high-level entrepreneurs are successful years after they've been in business, right? Very few just start a business, start making money, and it's all rosy after that, right? Like, if you're going to go into entrepreneurship, expect these. I love this description. They go through stops and starts, a couple near-death experiences, and a great deal of adaptation. Like, you think you have a niche, next thing you know, you find out your niche is not very nichey, or the reason you have a niche is because it doesn't work and that's why nobody's doing it. Like, there's this things you find out that because you're in this industry, you owe this much money, or you need this insurance and it costs way more than you thought, or you're going to have a physical space to work in that state, or, I mean, there's just stuff. You can't, it just works out. Like, and you almost die a few times. You go, you build up credit card debt, which is a horrible thing, and you pay it off, and you think you're on track, and something comes up. That's how entrepreneurship goes. But eventually you get there, if you keep at it. But it's a lot of fun for me. Some people don't think it's exciting. I do. Let's see. There's a similar belief in startups. Technology companies focus on learning over profitability in the early years to maximize revenue in the later years. Unfortunately, far too many focused learning ends at college graduation. They read about stocks and bonds instead of reading books that improve their mind. They compare their cash salary to their peers instead of comparing lessons learned. They invest in the stock market and neglect investing in themselves. They focus, in short, on hard assets instead of soft assets. We go through this whole phase in our young years of just trying to develop soft assets. And then we get to the place where those soft assets are valuable enough to get some hard assets, and we give up the learning part of that, right? And just focus 100% on hard assets. And like, both are valuable. You got to keep learning, keep reading books, keep going to seminars and conferences and everything you can do to stimulate your mind and get new ideas and new perspectives. And like, I heard Gary Vaynerchuk going off the other day how pissed he is that the younger generation gets all the upside for these social platforms. Like, these 50 and 60 and 70-year-olds who have just a mountain of expertise in certain topics don't even know how to send a text message, much less like have an online business where they talk to their camelers like I'm trying to do, right? Like, so many people are more well-read than me. They know more about business than me. They like are more attractive than me, more funny than me, like all these things. And they're in retirement sitting on their couch. Like, they could own this industry, right? Like, it's crazy. So like, you like, keep going, keep learning. Like, if some of these people would learn how to build a YouTube channel and an Instagram following and a Twitter following and leverage that into income, they could have so much money it's not even funny. But they haven't taken the time to learn. So keep learning. Risk. This is a part that I wanted to get to, right? I love this chapter. He says, take intelligent risk is what it's called, but risk tends to get a bad rap. We associate it with things like losing money in the stock market or riding a motorcycle without a helmet. But risk isn't the enemy. It's a permanent part of life. In fact, being proactively intelligent about risk is a prerequisite for seizing those breakout opportunities we talked about in the last chapter. So, like, it's a permanent part of life. You've heard me say it this way: it's all risky. Whether you're betting on changing or what's already at play, don't think for a second that you're not betting. Like, you're taking a risk. If you're just going to say, I got my job, I'm going to stick here for 30 years and get my retirement, well, just know that you're betting on that industry staying solid for 30 years and that no one else will ever penetrate your market, and that company will never need to make changes or adjust or fire you or whatever. Like, that's the risk you're taking. You're risking all your assets in that spot, right? If you're going to go for a job change, you're risking some unknowns in that new job? Is it really as solid as you think? Is the pay worth it? Or will you be happy there? Will you like your coworkers, right? You're risking that, but you're gaining a new insight, a new, perspective, maybe some new talents, gifts, and hard, soft and hard assets. So like, it's all risky. So whether you're betting your money in the stock market or putting it under your mattress, you're risking it, right? If you put your money under your mattress for the last 8 years, you missed out on 250% gains. Okay? I risked mine in the stock market. There you go. You probably saw my video a little while back where I took $7,000 of borrowed money, invested it in this stock on Friday evening, and on Monday by 10:50 in the morning, I had sold it all for a $10,000 plus profit. Paid back my loan, had nearly $11,000 in the stock market, 100% profit, right? I risked it, and guess what? I won. So it's all risky, right? Let's see. I'm going to skip that. It's getting long here. Who you know is what you know, right? Who you know is what you know. I'm not going to read a section from that, but who you know is what you know. That kind of goes back from to what I started with, right? Your opportunity is in the people around you, in your connections. So if you spend a lot of time going to conferences, traveling, meeting people in new arenas, in new businesses, cultures, etc., your understanding is different than the person that goes to work, goes home and sits on the couch, or even people that are really engaged in a business or something, and they go to this country club every day or whatever. That that group of people is sharing their ideas. So hopefully it's a really good group of people. But who you know is what you know. That applies to everything. You hear people say like, tell me your 5 closest friends and I'll tell you who you are, or your income is the average of your 5 or 7 friends or whatever, right? Like it's true for a reason, right? Probably because you met your friends at certain jobs or income levels, or you attend the same things as those people, right? So it averages out. So get yourself out of your comfort zone, find new people, reach for some that are above you, some that are below you, some, get out and open your eyes a little bit and look for some new connections and opportunities. There's great friends to be made and businesses to start and join, and activities to participate in. So who you know is what you know. I think that's really true. I try to spend a lot of time with people online because I can have access, because of this brilliant world we live in. I can listen to Tony Robbins daily, and Gary Vaynerchuk, and Bill Gates, and like so many brilliant minds and people who have done everything that I want to do. And so it's like I can just glean from them and try to emulate what pieces I think apply to my life, right? So anyway, interesting book. If you're looking for job changes or how to grow your network, or some things like that, this is really valuable. It gives a ton of like insights and has action pieces in it. So if you're in that stage of life right now, I would recommend it. Certain parts of it were exciting to me. Like I said, I did get bored on some of it. So it's recommended for a specific person, right? Like if you're in that phase, go for it. And it was a decent read. So anyway, I'll put a link below so you can purchase that if you want from Amazon. And anyway, if you're interested, I started a new Instagram account because my other one was more kind of for my family and friends. So it's at Build the Life You Want BW, which is the same as my Facebook page. And then I'm Bronson Wilks on Twitter. And then my website's bronsonwilks.com. So you can go over there and look at the other books that I've done reviews on. Follow me on YouTube at Bronson Wilks as well. So, and you'll find find my YouTube stuff. There's no E in Wilks, just so you know, because most people screw that up. Anyway, guys, appreciate you. Adios.